your questions in the chat.
Oh, okay. We are live. Yes. So I had to refresh the page. So you're joining us on News for the Soul Radio, Conscious Parenting Show. I just want to catch people up on YouTube. And we're talking about empty nester, becoming empty nesters. And Thomas was very resistant to empty nester syndrome for some reason. I don't know.
No, I was
That's
actually
neither here nor there.
resistant to the word syndrome. It's just a common experience amongst people.
Okay. Well,
Let's
anyway.
move on. Now, what are some benefits?
Okay, well, according to Dr. Rachel Glick, who's a licensed professional counselor, you get an opportunity to rediscover yourself.
And why is that?
Well, because all the things that you haven't had time to do while you were homeschooling your child or raising your child, you now can put that energy back into yourself.
And you're going to put that energy somewhere.
You're going to put that. So
you better consider it carefully where you put that.
What else does she say?
As she says, better relationship with your kids, not living together, and more independence can make room for positive communication.
So that would be cool. It'll be interesting to see. We don't know. She leaves next week, so we fly you up. So we don't know.
You know, those classic power struggles can lessen when they go away to wherever they go.
Well, yeah, you're not going to be
such as making the room and more support, fun, and friendship.
Yeah, and we get an opportunity to refocus on our marriage and our relationship. So we've actually kind of started doing that. Well, all through the marriage, but within the last couple of years, I'd say, actually when she was old enough to stay home alone, and she didn't want to do a lot of the stuff that we wanted to do.
Which was about what, 15?
No, about 13.
Oh, no, about 13.
Okay, yeah. About 13.
So then she's like, nope, I don't want to go kayaking. Nope, I don't want to go to the movies. Nope, I don't want to go, whatever we were doing, all the kind of strange things that you and I like to do.
Yes.
What are you looking at me for?
It's you. That's why we haven't been doing all that.
No, it isn't.
What are you talking about? And so this is an opportunity. So you can either, look at it like, woo, yay, or a lot of people actually struggle with it. What are some of the downsides, according to Dr. Glick?
According to Dr. Glick, sadness, depression, loneliness, grieving, lack of purpose, meaninglessness, relationship issues, anxiety, loss of control, and regret.
Yeah, a lot of people. Didn't you had a friend who talked about regret when their child went away, that they didn't spend a lot of the time that they could have spent with them while the kid was home.
I think that's a common experience, maybe more so for men than women.
Say something about that.
Well, my daughter ice skates 3-4 times a week for a number of years now. And my wife will take her ice skating half the time, and I take her half or a third of the time. My wife always goes into the rink and watches her take a lesson and skate, often goes into the rink. But I will drop her off and go up to a Starbucks or something and do some reading or work, and then I'll come back and pick her up. So I could make myself wrong and say, I should be spending more time with her. I have to remind myself that as a male, I just think differently, and it is neither right nor wrong. It's just different. And it's fine being me just as me if that is authentically me.
Okay, so you just like completely blew off the question that I asked.
What did you ask?
I said you had a friend who talked about regret that the last year of their kid's life, he was sitting on the couch or doing more things on the couch than actually spending with the kid.
Well, that's the same principle as what I was explaining.
Oh, okay. It sounds like you went in a different direction.
No, not at all. Okay. I think we got to be honest and authentic in our heart and soul as a man, as a woman, as whatever we identify with, and not make ourselves wrong in any position that I spent more or less time with her. Are you done with my answers?
No, I'm just going to answer because I don't know what you're talking about.
Send your questions in.
So when I think of regret, I hear parents talking about, wow, because the years fly by. I heard that when I became a new mom. I heard it growing up. And now experiencing it, it's like, whoa, you know, where did these 18 years go? And so all along the way, I was conscious that I wanted to do certain things so that I wouldn't have regret. And it wasn't out of guilt. It was like, I want to enjoy this experience because at some point it's going to be over in this way, and then she's going to go on. And so, parents, I say to you, you know, if you're feeling like you want to spend more time, if there's something different you want to do, now is the opportunity while they're still home, because once they're gone, you know, they are living their own lives and they're discovering themselves. And so that's what I was talking about. So, you know, you were giving the male answer.
I was answering the same thing. I have chosen to do a lot of things differently because I knew we only had 17, 18 years with her for the most part.
Mhm.
Not old, but she'll be 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
And now that she's almost gone, I do look forward to doing those things that I have put off.
Okay. Well, that's great. So, Mecca, so I've had a lot of moms say, oh my gosh, how are you feeling? How are you doing? And I wouldn't want my kid to go. You know, I want them to stay, you know, here. So as the college-bound kid, like, what are your thoughts on, you know, leaving home and how to be supportive, how parents can be supportive of their kids? Because this is a big step. You've been homeschooled your whole life.
Yeah.
And so now you're going away. You're going to be in classes with other students, living with a roommate. You're an only child. So how can parents support their kids?
Be encouraging and supportive.
Encouraging and supportive. In what way? So what does that look like, encouraging and supportive? Like, what does that look like?
How would it look like to you for us to be encouraging and supportive?
Well, don't like keep them at the house. Don't be like, you can't leave.
Mm.
Or like, I need you here. So let them leave without making them feel guilty.
Yeah.
Or like, they'll be lost without you.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Making, so kind of undermining their confidence.
Mm-hmm. The kids or the parents.
The kids, like undermining the kids' confidence, so they feel like, I don't know.
The parent needs me.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Or that I can't handle this.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be either way.
Yeah.
Like the parent needs me, so I need to stay. Or I don't know if I'm confident enough to
leave.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it is.
A wise old soul, young old soul.
And so how are you feeling? You know, so you leave next week. So how are you? This is going to be Mecca's last show, probably, as far as we know.
Oh, so get your questions in today.
So how are you feeling about it? Are you nervous at all?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No.
Okay. Do you think you know what to expect, or?
No.
Yeah.
I've never been on my own for more than 2 weeks.
Right.
And even that, it was heavily structured because it was a camp.
Right.
So I don't know.
Well, it's exciting. Well, we're very excited for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how do people reach us?
You can email your questions to ontheair@telus.net or call into 646-595-4274 or post your questions in the YouTube chat.
YouTube is up and running. Sandra Jones-Keller is my YouTube channel. So we'd love to hear from you, answer your conscious parenting questions. And so I actually have a new workshop coming on. It's called Peaceful Parenting Solutions. And it's going to be an online workshop on Wednesday, August 28th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. And it's a free workshop. And
who's it for?
It's for mamas of teens and tweens. It's how to reduce your stress and anxiety and the drama. I'm going to give you 3 tools to quickly reduce the stress, drama, and anything else going on in your life. And you're going to learn, so you're going to walk away like really being able to use the tools. And the tools are what we talk about a lot on the show and how we've raised our daughter using conscious parenting.
Mhm.
So we would love to hear from you. Oh, we have a question. Mecca, can you read that for us?
Don't shake the tape.
Oh, okay, there's 3. Michelle in Ontario. I'm glad you are talking about this today. I've been severely depressed for months since my son left. As a single mother, I found myself alone. All the special fun times on holidays and events we used to enjoy are a thing of the past. I've tried to replace with new activities and connections, but it's not the same and pales in comparison. I no longer feel excited about anything now and can't seem to pull out of this depression. I need help.
Well,
That
Michelle
is-
in Ontario, I'm sorry. So that is what they were talking about.
Absolutely.
Empty nester syndrome
I-
that you
and
were so resistant to.
And I was just thinking, she is a single mom,
Mhm.
and that makes it even more intense. I would think,
Mhm.
where you and I have each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's either good or bad.
Most of the time,
No,
it's
but
good.
I feel very much for Michelle because, well, what would you
So Michelle,
suggest?
okay, so Michelle, my heart goes out to you
Absolutely.
because we just love our kids immensely. And so what I would suggest, and I don't know how long ago your child left, but what you can
For
start,
months.
you said months?
Months.
Okay. So what you can do, well, she said holidays also. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to start sending you some love, Michelle, and some support. But what you can start doing though is really take this time to find yourself and to take care of yourself and to start remembering those dreams you had before you became a mom. Because we become moms and our focus is on raising our children, and oftentimes we forget even who we are or what we enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be, so the first thing I would say is just start, you can journal. Spending time in nature is very healing, and that will start activating like those memories. It'll start activating those parts of you that, well, wait a minute, I was a whole person before I became a mom. So that would be one. Also, find a routine for yourself. Like I exercise, I like to exercise. And so that is part of my self-care program. So develop a self-care program that works for you. So for me, I love walking. I love biking. I've started swimming again. We go kayaking. So find a self-care, whether it's yoga, going to a masseuse, going to a spa, going out to lunch with friends. Find a self-care program and start doing that. When you walk and when you move, you immediately raise your vibration. So listen to music that you like, start dancing, start doing things to lift your vibration, because when you're dancing and when you're moving and when you're laughing, put on shows that make you laugh. So start doing things that are going to raise your vibration, because when you're laughing, it's hard to be depressed. It's hard to remember like the loneliness. Um, so I would do that. And then just start reclaiming yourself. This is a new chapter in your life. So I get that, you had this part of life as a mom. And so maybe you can reframe it and think of, okay, so this was awesome. I got to be a mom to my kid. We had all these memories. So now what do I want to do next? And that's what I've been looking at for myself, because I was a homeschool mom. So for 18 years, it was my life. I did have a business and I did write books and stuff. But I find that now that I know that she's leaving, I'm taking a speaking class, or actually a training. We're doing Toastmasters. So start doing things and meeting people. That's another thing. So I know that oftentimes as mom, a lot of our community and a lot of our friends are the parents of our kids. And so you want to start like making friends who are in alignment with who you are now, and not just because they were your kid's friend. So I hope that helps,
I have something
Michelle.
to say.
Go ahead.
And I agree with everything Sandra just said, Michelle. And you note that all your other activities and friends and connections pale in comparison. And that's probably a very common experience. And it probably will change with a little bit of time, a little more time. I mean, before you were a parent, you were a human being. And even if you were a very young parent, you were still a child before that. And you had the dreams and the aspirations of a child. Although you may have forgotten those long ago, it might be fun to go back in your mind and rethink and try to rediscover some of those dreams you had as a young child or as a high schooler, depending on how old you are when you had your child, and start to live out some of those. Because regardless, it has happened. Your child has gone now, and you have a life to live, and your child would love to see you thrive eventually. And I know you want him to feel good about himself and great about you. And I think if you can start to create a little momentum and keep it going, it will start to build on itself slowly but surely.
And Michelle, we were just talking to our daughter Mecca about leading. And so we don't want our children to worry about us. We don't want them to feel guilty for creating a life. And so energetically, you don't want to pull on your child and have them worried about you or feel like they need to take care of you. Because, as parents, we want them to fly, to learn to fly and to explore and to really have their own life. And so just as you want your child to thrive, your child wants and needs you to thrive. So just take it a little step at a time. Do one thing each day, whether it's walking, swimming, dancing, going to lunch. Start just doing one thing, because when we overthink things, then it keeps us in a state of depression or feeling down. And being in action is one of the best ways to begin moving.
Move your body.
Thomas
Move
is
your
dancing
body.
for those of you on, yeah.
Oh, is YouTube on?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Thank you.
That was supposed to be dancing.
Thank you, Michelle in Ontario.
What's
Mecca?
next? Mecca Jones-Keller.
Danielle in New York. This is coming soon for me, and I'm grilled with dread about losing my kids. We have been so close knit, and I don't know what daily life is going to look like without them.
Isn't that the truth? We don't know
either.
either.
We don't know either, Danielle. But you know what? Our intention is that it's going to be amazing.
When we said our marriage vows, how many years ago was
17.
it? 17 years. 17 years ago, we made our own vows, and even back then, we were clear that our relationship between my wife and I are one thing. My relationship with the world and life is one thing. Your Sandra's relationship was one thing. And then when we had our child, that added a fourth thing. But we're all overlapping, but that's our marriage, and our child is not our only relationship. We have dreams and aspirations, what I like to call our soul's path, which need to be fulfilled in this lifetime.
And so, Danielle, you're talking about losing your kids. So we don't lose them. They just become, the relationship will be different. And I don't know what ours is going to look like, because she's still here. So we have another week. So I can actually, next month, we can give you an update on what our empty nesting is going like. But I understand, like the dread. And so what I've done for myself is I've set in place things that I enjoy doing. I've started cultivating relationships outside of just my daughter's friends. Thomas and I started Toastmasters this year because we knew that there was a big life change coming for us. And so I said, do you want to do Toastmasters? And he was all in. And now he's actually done more speeches than I have. But the point is, it gives us something to be excited about. So you want to have things that you enjoy doing so that you always have something to look forward to. And I don't feel like I'm going to lose my daughter. I feel like the relationship will definitely be different. And, I've talked to other parents and they just say the relationship shifts, but the dynamics sometimes are like a lot better because you're not in the day to day and they start actually maybe listening to you more or wanting your opinion or advice. So when
I
you
have something to say.
Okay. So when you say losing your kids, maybe just start reframing it that it's going to be a different relationship, not necessarily one of loss. Because if you think of loss, then that's going to bring you down. Yes, Thomas.
In our spiritual teaching over the years, we have learned that our souls come into this lifetime with their own path. And part of that path is to come together in a relationship, my wife and I, and have a child and grow and nurture that child through however many years. But then that child is meant to go and fulfill their soul's path, and we continue on and fulfill our soul's path in another portion. So our child has just been one portion of our 40, 50, 60 years. And we have however much we have left to do, but our soul, and that's up to our soul's path. And there's a very common thing that happens where parents, and parents will lose themselves in their children and give up their aspirations, their dreams, their own aspirations and dreams and desires. And then they forget those and they get so buried so far away from them that they forget them even after the child leaves, and they live an empty life, not just an empty nest, but an empty life. So those dreams your soul has are still in you and still in us, and they require that our daughter go somewhere else and continue on, but they don't stop. They don't cut off just because she's departed.
Yeah. So Danielle in New York, I feel for you. Ours is coming next week, and I invite you to reframe it from dread and losing your kids to a different type of relationship. And you want your kids to fly. Ultimately you want them to fly because remember, our children come here with their own life purpose that is separate from ours.
Yes.
And as spiritual beings, their soul has something in mind. And so the last thing we want to do as parents is step on that, is crush that from our own fear and from our neediness. And so we want to cultivate their courage, their trust, their intuition, so that their soul, because you were talking about we all have a purpose, but their soul wants to fulfill its own purpose. And so we don't want to hold on to the reins and not let them go out of our own fear, because it's not about us. We get to be parents. We got this amazing experience, but it's ultimately not about us and what we want and our needs and desires. It's about being a partnership and about being a way shower for our kids so that they can fulfill the life purpose that they've come here to do.
And one last thing.
Yes.
In any big life change, I believe it is the fear of the unknown that really terrifies us the most. When we get married, we don't know what life is going to be like. When we have a child, we don't know life. When that child leaves at 18, 19, we don't know what life is going to hold for us. When we retire, we can be scared to death because we don't know what our life will look like without our job. But there is a way to look at it to where the fear of the unknown is the opportunity to sculpt, to create, to paint your new life from ground zero, exactly the way you want it to be now. You have a blank canvas. We have
Mhm.
a blank canvas. We put things on it already, but I still have to go through the emotional stuff. But
Absolutely.
it's not the end of our lives. It's the transition into another
Phase of life.
phase of our life, and a lot of that is unknown, and that's where we become creative as creators.
And you know, like our daughter Mecca said a few minutes ago, we want to be encouraging to our kids. We don't want to undermine their confidence and have them feeling like we can't live without them, or that they can't live without us, or that they can't go and have the life that they really want. So we don't want to hold on and be undermining. We want to be loving and encouraging. So thank you, Danielle in New York. Mecca, next one.
Sarah in Chicago. Can you address the issue of grieving that comes up with empty nesting? I've been going through it for nearly 2 years now. How long is too long, and how do we pull out of it?
I think we've been describing that for the last 20 minutes.
So Sarah in Chicago. So I think 2 years is probably like way overdue for you to get on track, because Sarah, you have a life to live. You have a purpose, and so you want to allow yourself to experience all of it, and then you want to move on because you have a light to shine. You have a purpose that is separate from your kids. So just as your kids have their own life purpose, you have a purpose also. And you want to be a living example of thriving. And you don't want your kids to worry about you. You don't want them to feel afraid for you or about you or guilty. And so how do you deal with the grief? I would do my forgiveness work. You know, we talk a lot about mirroring and forgiveness on the show, but I would go in because this grief that you're feeling may not be about the thing that you think it is. It may be about a loss of purpose or a lack of purpose or a lack of meaning. And it's not fair to hold your kids hostage to give your life meaning.
And it's not fair to hold yourself hostage. Yeah. You have a life, and having a child and raising that child was a portion of it, but you still have another life that goes on after that. And do not imprison yourself, because the fact that you are alive on this planet means you do have a purpose for being here. There's no mistakes, there's no accidents. And the fact that you're here means there's something or some things inside of you that still need to be fulfilled. So go out and try all kinds of different things and start finding where you find thrill, where you find energy, and start cultivating that more and more. And
so with the grief energy, whenever there's anything that disturbs me, I use a process called Ho'oponopono, which is an ancient Hawaiian forgiveness technique to start releasing all the emotions. And you can look it up, Ho'oponopono, Dr. Hugh Lin. There's a lot of videos, but 4 simple phrases. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. And I almost do it as a mantra when I'm moving through something that's upsetting or disturbing for me. And I do it until I start feeling a sense of peace. Because Sarah, there's so much life to live, and your soul is craving that you begin living it. So I hope that helps. Check out my website, sandrajoneskeller.com. I'm a spiritual energy healer as well as a conscious parenting coach. Check out my website, see if it resonates for you, and reach out if you would like more support on that.
I suspect that a certain amount of the grieving that goes on after an extended period of time is not just grieving for losing the child or the child moving on, but it's grieving for losing our own sense of purpose in our life and not picking that purpose back up and start living it out, however difficult that might be to start. Your child's gone away, but you haven't.
Mm-hmm. And so Sarah, listen to the beginning of the show if you haven't, where I just talked about start doing things that you enjoy, create a self-care program, begin reclaiming yourself, start moving, exercise, yoga, whatever it is. So thank you. What are you laughing at? Okay, Mecca, what's the next question?
Patricia in Boston. Well, I had an empty nest. Then my son moved back in because he was struggling financially. That was 4.5 years later. How do I empty out my nest again?
Yeah.
Patricia in Boston. I was just reading something about, it's called the boomerang generation, where the kids moved out, but because of finances and other things, now they've moved back in.
We're gonna move, Mecca, while you're gone.
No, you're not.
Yeah. So Patricia in Boston, I would say sit down with your son and work out a timeline.
We can also talk about marrying here too.
Okay, well we'll talk about marrying. Let me answer this, and then we'll include the marrying. How about
Okay.
that? I would sit down with your son and work out a timeline, like how long he's been there. 4.5 years. Sounds like he's very comfortable. So you guys work out how long you're willing to have him in your house, and then start creating the steps to make that happen. And be firm in that he's gonna have to really find another situation. So now let's talk about the marrying. That's you. I'm talking to you. Talking to you.
I know. Marrying, let me explain it in as simply as I can. Everybody in our lives, in our small sphere of our lives, like our family, our spouses, our children, our best friends, our co-workers, people we see regularly, every one of them is going to reflect back to us our own consciousness. And a lot of things we're going to like about our consciousness, seeing that coming back to us. A lot of things we'll feel indifferent about. It's fine either way. And then some things we'll be quite annoyed or disturbed with that our circle of friends and family is showing us. And your son is showing you something that you don't want to own in your own consciousness. But if you can transform that in your consciousness, and he will transform or move on. He just won't be able to stay in the same place. So whatever your son is showing you, that disturbs you, turn that inside on yourself and ask yourself the question internally, where am I doing that same thing that he's doing that bothering me so much? Either in my physical world or just in my mind. Where am I doing that? And then once you find that and own it, then you can use a forgiveness process such as Ho'oponopono on yourself, and that will transform the energy and transform it within yourself. And your son simply will not be able to be there any longer, and he won't even know why he's got to go, but he'll just go.
Yeah, so I love the mirror. So like when you think of a mirror, you're looking at your reflection. So if you're not smiling or not happy, you don't go to the mirror and then try to change the mirror, because the mirror is a reflection of you. So if you're seeing something in the mirror, then you can't go externally, which is what Thomas is talking about. You can't go externally and try to make that move and change. The change comes from within, because the world is a reflection of our consciousness. And so when I want things to shift, I shift in here, and the world shifts because it is a reflection of my consciousness. And how we know that we've shifted is the situation goes away, or the situation is there and it doesn't bother us anymore. Like I'm not triggered by it, because the universe will say, okay, have you really changed? And then it'll keep sending you the same things. And if you're reacting and responding the same way, then you haven't. But when you can have a situation that was disturbing in the past and it happens, and you reframe it and it's like you're good with it, then you can actually experience and create other things in your life because you're not reflecting those things that you don't like, that you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Patricia in Boston. Let's see if we have any other questions.
That's a deep one.
We have 8 minutes to the top. So you have 8 minutes. You have a couple more minutes if you have any more conscious parenting questions. And so we've been talking a lot about empty nesters because there's a lot of kids getting ready to go away to school.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
you have of families that are experiencing what we're experiencing. So now we're going to circle it back to conscious parenting.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been weaving it in throughout our conversation, but we haven't said conscious parenting. So in conscious parenting, then it's what we've been talking about. We want to have our kids fly. We want to be a partner. Our kids are not here for our benefit and pleasure. They've come here with their own life purpose that is separate from us.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do we be a partner through this for her? You know, when people say, oh my God, are you sad? Da, da, da. Someone asked me the other day, are you sad? And I said, I don't know that sad is the right word because sad to me means I don't want it to happen and that I'm upset about it happening. And I said, I am totally thrilled about her going to school because this is her dream and it's what we've been working for. Right. So sad doesn't fit. I said, but I am emotional because I love her dearly and it's going to be a shift. But I want it to happen. Like I'm very clear and you're very clear. And she's always been very clear. She's like, I'm out of here. She knew she did not want to stay in state. So conscious parenting is partnering with our children, being a guide and way shower, knowing that they have a life purpose that is their own, that is separate from us. And so, yes, I'm going to be emotional. I will cry. I will, and we've had to learn to be very gentle with each other because we don't know the impact that this is actually having on us. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I just feel upset or weird and I'm not really sure why. And then I'm a little snappy or you're a little snappy. And it could very well be because we know this change is coming.
Yeah, you're more snappy than me.
I don't think so. That's just kind of your general.
Mecca, who's more snappy?
Yeah. But that's kind of your general personality.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
So mine comes and goes, and that's just kind of your personality.
Snappy in an upbeat, positive way?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
I'm busted.
So conscious parenting. So say something about conscious parenting and empty nesting. Just kind of wrap it up for us. Bring us home, Thomas.
Bring us home.
Bring us
we
home.
all have different phases of our life, and each phase has its own purpose. And now moving from having a daughter to her daughter going away, we still have her, but she's going away to college thousands of miles away. This is our life, and it's the unknown in one way, but in another way, to make it be a very, in the long term, very positive, and embrace it as a new blossoming life for each one of us.
Mm-hmm. So what have you done to prepare? And then I'll talk about what I've been doing to prepare.
Well, I've started a new business and I'm doing the Toastmasters topics, and I have started creating events and taking a leadership role in Toastmasters. And I am creating different activities and endeavors outside of our marriage and within our marriage, mm-hmm. so that my life goes on and I'll grieve and I'll feel how I feel when she goes off to college, but I'll be pulled forward because I know I have more to give to this world and this life.
Absolutely. And the way that I've prepared, I actually started preparing a couple of years ago because she's our only child and I knew that she was leaving. And so I started putting more energy into my business. I'd already written my books, but just like putting more energy into my business. Toastmasters we started this year so that we can continue to grow and have something to look forward to. We're meeting some really amazing people that we're enjoying. We're stretching ourselves. I mean, I've actually memorized speeches. I have not memorized anything in years. So I'm using different parts of my brain. I'm taking a professional speaker training now. I'm offering online workshops and classes and supporting parents to live consciously, not just parent consciously, but to live consciously, because that's the next phase for us empty nesters, right?
Right.
We parent it consciously, but we also want to live consciously, and we want to be a contribution. Looking at, things that we like to do. There's certain places that she had no interest in traveling.
We're going there.
And so
the
now
day
it's like,
after she leaves.
Now it's like, oh, yeah, we can go walk the Appalachian Trail.
Right.
If we want to go to the national parks in a camper, it's like, oh, yeah, maybe we'll do that.
Yeah.
So we're just like throwing stuff out, but it's a level of freedom that we haven't had in 18 years. And
Yes.
we both like to travel, and we both like to travel kind of loose. But we had tightened up how we traveled because we had a child. We just can't like take off and not make hotel reservations and stuff the way we used to. So we started traveling a little more responsibly.
And we are willing to feel everything we feel and not try to repress anything as best as we can.
Yeah, and we don't know. We will give you an update.
We will
next month because our daughter leaves next week, and so
email us back next month as well, saying, "Wait a minute, why are you crying?"
Yeah. So, thank you everyone for your wonderful questions. As I mentioned before, I have an upcoming workshop. It's called Peaceful Parenting Solutions: 3 Tools to Quickly Reduce Power Struggles, Stress, and Drama in Your Home. And it is geared toward mamas of teens and tweens. And if you're feeling overwhelmed or exhausted by the daily challenges of parenting, and do you often feel frustrated or inadequate when you just won't listen? And are you dreaming of a better relationship with your child filled with more peace, cooperation, and joy? So join us for an empowering and transformative event designed specifically for mamas of teens and tweens who are ready to say bye-bye to power struggles, stress, and drama in their homes. And in this exclusive session, you will learn 3 powerful tools to quickly reduce conflict and create a more harmonious family life. And so check out my website, sandrajoneskeller.com. Go to the event page. This is a free workshop. So all you have to do is sign up. I have 3 books to support you on your conscious parenting journey: Intuitive Communication with Your Baby Soul, 21 Lessons to Empower the New Age Kid, and Tips and Trips of Parenting a New Age Kid. So these books work together beautifully to bring parenting into the 21st century to be more aligned with the wise old souls that are being born today. My books are available on Amazon. Go to my website, sandrajoneskeller.com, for more information about me, and check out the archives on News for the Soul Radio. This is actually our 28th show, if you can believe that or not.
Yep, I believe it.
So I want to thank you, Mecca. This is your last show with us, unless you want to call in, but you'll have a life.
Yeah.
So we're going to miss
Outside of
you. So thank you for being here with us for these last 28 shows. Thank you, Thomas, for joining me. And we're
I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Hang up.
So the Conscious Parenting Show is live the second Friday of each month at 6 p.m. Eastern Time.
And I'll be here.
Tell all your friends. Thank you so much for joining us, and happy parenting.
Bye-bye.